I first thought of putting S.T.A.G.E together with my friend Jim Pickett, and we were in a little coffee shop in Silver Lake called The Crest, which was very gay friendly, and we were sitting in a booth. I could go to that very booth today and show you where we were sitting, and we had been doing a lot of theater, classified as gay theater, some of it dealing with social issues, but then along comes this disease that's killing people. And at that point, I think it might have been still GRID, or I'm not even sure that it had made the transition to being called AIDS. But it was starting, and it was affecting the community, and it was affecting the theater community. So we thought, how will we address this issue using what we knew how to do, which was the theater, and raise money? So we came up with this idea. We called it S.T.A.G.E, and we put a lot of thought into what we were going to name it, because we didn't want to only call it an AIDS benefit or use the word AIDS, because we assumed that AIDS would be gone in a year or two. We came up with Southland Theater Artists Goodwill Event, because it would be produced and performed primarily by Southland artists. Of course, the performers are from all over the world at this point. And we thought, okay, great, this encompasses, this can encompass any number of illnesses, diseases, issues, but we will set it, and we'll set it for AIDS, and we'll do this for a few years. Well, little did we know that over 25 years later, which encompassed his death, and the deaths of many, 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 many people who were involved, in fact, with the AIDS benefit has become known. The S.T.A.G.E benefit and the AIDS benefit are sort of the same, have died. It's survived so many of its participants, is what I'm trying to say. And so the fact that I'm still here is pretty amazing, and the fact that the organization is still here, still raising money, is quite an amazing thing. The first S.T.A.G.E benefit was very dicey, because people were at that point still afraid to go into theater where they might contract the illness. That's the degree of ignorance. These were theater people. I remember Julie Harris was the first sort of figurehead, and she was, incredibly generous and sweet, but there weren't a lot of people in the audience. We enlisted at that point, it was the small theaters that we kind of targeted to be the participants and sort of help produce the event, and many of them, when we made our initial phone calls, I'll never forget this, they were saying, "What's AIDS?" Now, 5 years later, all of those people in the small theaters in Los Angeles would have experienced 1, 2, 3, 10, 15, 20, 25 deaths from people in their companies or their friends or their audience members who had died of AIDS. Initially, the benefit carried sort of an educational aspect, not in any formal way, because it was theatrical. David Galligan created a theatrical event that survives all these years later. But at the same time, it was educational in that you can go to the theater and not get AIDS. I also don't want the event to become some sort of glitzy, glamorous thing that is cool to go to, and people forget the reason they're going. We have to remember that people are still dying of AIDS. People are still suffering from AIDS. There's still very many complications dealing with healthcare and AIDS that will continue to go on, I hazard to say, for another 25 years. S.T.A.G.E has raised much more than $1 million over the years. That the first one may have raised a couple $1,000s. Can you imagine? And we probably thought that was a lot of money. AIDS, in its own way, spawned a benefit mentality that didn't exist. Yes, there were benefits for cancer, and there were benefits for this and that, but I think that the AIDS crisis, and I think that gay men and, of course, lesbians, but I think that gay men sort of had a knack for putting on shows and putting on benefits, and I think that filtered out into the community. Last year, S.T.A.G.E gave me the Producers Award, which I was very excited to receive. It's sort of ironic, or not ironic, sort of poetic, that the organization that I co-founded then gave me an award all these years later. Yeah, the awards. I love getting awards, and yet, is this something I should be awarded for? I don't know. I just think it's become a part of my life, like eating and drinking coffee and raising my child, and I don't look at it as something that necessarily deserves an award. It's certainly nice to be acknowledged. Really, it's not about what TV shows you did, or it's not about who you slept with, or it's about who you helped, who you touched in a way that is outside of yourself. And believe me, I struggle with that. I'm not saying I do it perfectly every day, but I think that that's what I've learned. The future of stage, isn't that a great question? Wouldn't it be nice if at some point stage survived long enough to go back to the original goal that Jim Pickett and I had when we sat in that coffee shop and said we're calling the Southland Theater Artist Goodwill event, making it vague enough and general enough that it could do benefits for cancer or for sickle cell anemia or for any number of autism. I could go on and on and on with the number of health concerns that need money. I don't think we ever would want to lose the AIDS focus, but I think to tease that out and maybe include other people in need.